On two. Ready? Hey.
Hello.
What's going on? How's it going?
Pretty
Can you
good.
hear
How
me?
y'all doing?
Yeah, everybody can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right. Welcome to the Football Frame of Mind. This is not a weekly show, you guys. I repeat, this is not a weekly show. This is an interview. So this is interview time with the Football Frame of Mind, man. Y'all see the guy. Y'all see him. This is Todd McClure, man. Falcons Ring of Honor. All right. This is the guy that's been putting people on their back.
Trying to.
Putting people on their back through the SEC and the NFL, man. He is a legend. So I want y'all to welcome Todd McClure to the show, man.
Thank y'all for having me, man. I'm been looking forward to this interview ever since y'all contacted me. Love talking ball, so ready to get at it.
That's a pleasure, man.
That's what we do. All right, so I'll start things off. So being in the state of Louisiana, right? What did it mean for you to go to LSU?
Yeah, it was everything to me. I grew up here in Baton Rouge, 15 minutes, 20 minutes from campus, and it was a childhood dream. I grew up, everything I watched, everything I dreamed of was possibly playing one day at LSU, whether it was, baseball or football. It wound up being football. But it meant everything to me. I always knew if LSU offered, that's where I would go, and it just worked out. Got to live out a childhood dream for sure.
All right. Cool. Go ahead, Brandon. We'll bounce you
I
over.
mean, I've been there before, but like, what is it like? I guess playing in Death Valley compared to like some of these other places? Because obviously you hear stuff like the Swamp and a lot of these other places, Rocky Top, places that are like held in high regard. But I think a lot of people are under the impression Death Valley is obviously just nothing like it, especially on Saturday night. Just that intensity, that crowd just being so loud. Like, what do you like? Do you feel like that is accurate, or do you feel like maybe someone else should have that title?
No, I definitely feel like it's accurate. I got chills listening to you describe it. Just thinking about it. And for me, I played on offense, so when we were out there on offense, we didn't have to operate in that environment. But whenever our defense was out there and you got big stops during a big SEC game, a big meaningful game on a Saturday night, there was nothing like it. Make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. But for me, having to operate in the offense, other than Death Valley, in college, the Swamp was the loudest place I ever played in that I had to operate. I never played in Neyland Stadium. Never played between the hedges at Georgia. But for me, as an offense, the Swamp was pretty loud at times.
Okay, so when the NFL process started for you, when did you know that was a possibility?
I tell you, so I started my freshman year, my true freshman year. I came in about 7 games into the season. Our starter got hurt. I had the opportunity to finish out the season and then start in a bowl game. It was actually the Independence Bowl against Notre Dame. My first thing when I went to LSU was I was on a football scholarship, but we had already talked and already said that I was going to play baseball also. So it came that time after my freshman year, and Coach Jerry DiNardo was our head coach at the time, and he called me in. He goes, "Look, we think you're going to be our starter here next year. We really feel like you have the potential to make it to the NFL. So we really want you to think about not playing baseball because your spring, the spring coming up will be really important for you for football." So at that point, it was easy. He said the right things to me, about the potential to play in the NFL. So I put all my baseball dreams on the back burner and just pursued football. And Coach Nardo knew what he was talking about, and it worked out for me.
All right, cool.
How was it? How was it playing for him? Because I've heard like mixed, like you hear some really good things, some really off things. You know, kind of like a mixed bag of chips. That's obviously right before Saban gets in the town. Like, what was your experience like with Coach?
You know, I had an unbelievable experience with him, and you're absolutely right. You talk to guys to this day that played for him, and there's no in between. You either loved him or you hated him. I always tell people if you were a guy that did the right thing, that you went to class, that you showed up, you were accountable. He was a guy that got behind you, you know. And you talk to Kevin Falk and Booger McFarland. Those are guys that came in with me. They have the same feeling, you know. But us three, we didn't know any different. Like that was our first college coach. There were a lot of guys that were already there that experienced Curly Hallman, experienced a different coach. So they had already in their mind what college football or what they thought it should look like. And then when DiNardo came in and completely changed the culture, he pissed off a lot of players, you know, and there were some guys that didn't get as much playing time as they maybe got the year before. So there are guys that despise him, you know, me personally. And, you know, I don't want to put words in other people's mouths, but I know Booger and Kevin both have a big appreciation for Coach DiNardo. But towards the end of his time, when everything started going south, it wasn't a good experience for anybody around the program, which, like it happens around any programs that go on a decline, it's bad pretty quick. So those guys that were there towards the end of his tenure, they don't have many good things to say, but he was great for me.
Okay, cool deal. Cool deal.
Okay, so going through a rough season in college, right? So how do you, as a player, well, at least back then anyway, college has changed a lot. But back then, how did you navigate, just staying the course, right? Knowing that the coach might be gone any day, right? How do you stay the course as a college player?
You know, for me, it was I had one coach the whole time. There was never any doubt when I was playing that DiNardo was going to be there. We had success early, you know, made it to or success compared to what they had previously there under Coach Hallman. Made it to 3 bowl games, 2 Independence Bowl and a Peach Bowl. So that was the most success they had around the program in a while. So there was never any doubt. But at the same time, you didn't have all this in your head where if you didn't get playing time that you were going to be able to try to go somewhere else the following year. You had to go work and you had to go grind to get you a spot, or else you were going to be sitting on the sidelines. It really wasn't an option, or you didn't have another option. You had to go grind and you had to go make a team and you had to perform, or else somebody else that would be there the next 4 years was going to try to take your job. Nowadays, I think, you know, I was talking with some of my teammates from the Atlanta Falcons, and how soft in general the game has become, and I think it started from youth sports. You know, where if a kid ain't getting playing time, you know, the parents are going to put him on a different team, and then you do the same thing in high school, and then you go to college, and if you aren't getting playing time, it's not your work habits are bad. It's, you know, it's probably the coach. So let's go somewhere else. And that whole mindset has been passed all the way through to the NFL, and you're starting to see it, and it's changed the way football should be played, in my opinion.
Made it more of a prima donna game.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like you're entitled. And one of my former teammates said the exact same thing. He's like, guys come in here and they feel like they're entitled to certain things. And, you know, I said, y'all realize we're turning into the old players that say the current players have it so much easier. But, you know, it's easy to talk about it when you can see it and you've been through it, and you see the game changing in front of your own eyes.
Yeah, I've battled with my wife about that because my son ended up getting benched because of his grades, right? And she had this whole thing about, well, it's embarrassing and he shouldn't be playing. I was like, look, if the coach believed in him, if the coach didn't believe in him, he wouldn't be sitting on the bench right now, right?
Right.
He would have told him not to dress out, period, right? But he sees that he wants to play, and this is a discipline thing, right? If you want to play and not feel like this anymore, you're gonna do what you gotta do in the classroom, right? So my mom instilled that in me, right? So I was like, hey, you gotta do the same thing. If you want to play, you gotta keep your grades up, man. So I was like, hey,
I love
I,
that. Yeah.
I just come from a different era, right? I get
Yeah.
it, moms are always soft on the boys, right? That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But my mom, being single mom, she was like, nah, you're gonna stick with it. I don't care if you're not playing, I'm still gonna show up for you, you
Yeah.
know.
But that
So
made you a better man down the road, and
it sure did.
I think
It
now
sure did.
parents get their kids out of tough situations when those tough situations are needed to shape and mold them to who they're going to be in the future, and that's what we're seeing in this world, with everything that goes on around us, and definitely in sports and football.
Most
Can't
definitely.
argue that.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, you played in the SEC, so obviously you played with a lot of really talented guys, but also you lined up against a lot of really ultra talented guys. So, like, in your opinion, just looking back, like, could you name like one guy maybe you played with? It's like, man, that guy was just built different, and then maybe a two-parter, like maybe someone you lined up against, like, man, that was a bit more out of pocket than I was expecting.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, playing in the SEC, I was fortunate enough when I came in. I talked about him already, but myself and Booger McFarland were in the same class. Booger was a nose guard. I was a center. So we went 1-on-1 from the very
Yeah.
first day. And, I learned that if I didn't want to get embarrassed, I better learn how to block Booger McFarland. And I think, yeah, and I did get embarrassed plenty of times, but it made my first step quicker. It made my hands quicker. Just battling against him every day made me into the player that I was. And then look up next to me, and it's Alan Faneca, a guy that is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So
Mhm.
I had guys around me that were just unbelievable. Kevin Falk behind me. And then so
Yeah.
many guys on that team that I played with at LSU made it to the NFL. Gabe Northern, Kenny Mixon, Mark Roman, Joe West. I can name so many guys, but I mean, it's like any SEC program. You're going to have a lot of guys, but those are the names that jump out. And then I talked about Florida being a loud environment to have to go play in. What made it loud or made it tough was it was loud. And then you look outside, and Javon Curse is standing on the end, and our
That's got to be
tackles are
intimidating, huh?
Yeah, no, it is, because you're trying to operate with the chaos going around you, and then you have to be perfect. I'll tell people all the time, offensive line, we're not as talented as anybody else on the field, so our technique has to be perfect to be able to stay on the field with those guys, because everybody on the field is more athletic. They're better athletes, and that's it can humble you really quick or make you go get good at your technique.
Yeah. So my question is about the next question is about the draft process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they approached you, like, how did that process go when you started to prepare for the NFL? You know that's a possibility. I'm a draftable player. Like, how do you prepare for the draft?
I guess I first started when Coach Leonardo had told me that I had an opportunity, and then I think what helped me, you have pro scouts coming in to watch Alan Faneca, a guy that was going to be a high round
Okay.
pick, and then
Yeah.
while they're evaluating him, they're like, I might have caught their eye. Let's look at this center a little bit more. Let's play him beside him. And then same thing with Kevin Falk. You got this guy that is setting college football on fire with what he's doing. Let's look at the line in front of him and see. So scouts coming in to watch those guys, I think, opened the door for me. And then, I started getting those scouts would come in, and I can remember vividly sitting down with the Atlanta Falcons scout, and he wanted to watch film together. And this was my junior year, or it might have been my senior year. But he wanted to see what I was seeing. He wanted to see how I thought and how I visualized myself. How was I tough on myself? Was I being honest with myself? And then from there, you start getting calls from agents your senior year, and that's when you really know it's a possibility when agents start reaching out in a roundabout way, wanting to set up a meeting after your last game, and went through that process, and my dad really helped me out picking the right agent. But we had guys that had been using, like Alan Faneca, David LaFleur, Ben Bordelon. Those guys had used Mark Bartelstein and those guys before. So Kevin Mawai was another guy they used. It was easy to make that transition, but I didn't use Mark and Rick Smith initially. I used somebody else who I felt more comfortable with. Um, and then it goes to the draft process. I'm hearing from my agent that, anywhere from second to fourth round is where I should be picked. And then you go through the combine, the Senior Bowl, all that stuff. And then for me, I come to draft day, and the first day of the draft goes by when I'm told I'm probably going to be picked, second to fourth round, goes all the way through the first day, and I'm not picked, and that's a lot of emotions to deal with. Because you feel like you're going to go early. Everybody's expecting you to go early. You got family members looking at you. It's an awkward situation. But I was fortunate enough that in the seventh round, the Atlanta Falcons had faith in me to pick me. And I don't think when they picked me, they thought that I would eventually be a starter there. I think that they probably picked me for a camp body or a guy that may hang around for a couple of years. And then it was just up to me at that point to go prove their pick right and do everything in my body to go prove that I should be there. And it worked out for me.
Okay. Two-part question. Just to piggyback off of that. So I'm in the process of doing the sports agent thing, right? Getting certified with the NFL. So I just had a question on what does a player look for in an agent, right? And then flip it the other side. What should an agent look for in a player?
Yeah, I think that's a tough business to get in initially, but once you get a few clients, it can snowball from there, because it makes it easy for a guy to pick a guy that has represented players he's played with or people that he knows. I think it's tough to get your foot in the door because you have so many guys out there that want to represent players that are certified, and it's easy for a player to go with somebody that has a proven track record. I don't know if it'd be better to try to get with an agency, to get your name out there first,
Yeah.
because I think it could be really difficult to get a guy to trust in you. But you see guys do it all the time, and sometimes upstart guys, they may go after possible free agents, guys that project to be a free agent or late round pick, and they aren't getting a lot of looks from agents because of course agents want to try to go get the guys that are going to make the most money so they can make their 3%. I mean, it's a business, but maybe do some homework and try to take a shot on some guys that could possibly slip into the later rounds. And then I think what type of players to look for. Obviously, guys that can play the game, and that you see, and I think one of the biggest things is you see that kind of lines with your values, who you want representing your name, because your name's going to be behind those guys, and is it guys that are staying in trouble in college, and they may be really good athletes because sometimes you don't see their their off the field life change much, or you see it get even worse once they get into the league when they have money. So, I think that's a tough business, but if you can get in and make a name for yourself, it can really snowball once you get the respect of a few guys.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. That's kind of how my thinking is as well. Like I instead of like going for I guess the top guys because I feel like that's everybody's goal.
Right,
Like
right.
I gotta get the first round pick. Because that's the easiest way to the money, right?
Right.
But for me, I always like the underdog story. Like when I first kind of got into it as basketball, I was always kind of looking, for the underdog guy, right? The
Right.
guy that's not heralded, the Division 2 guy, right? The
Right.
guy that has the tougher road to get there, but he's talented as hell.
Right.
So that's always kind of been my focus, man, to try to help the little guys go up there because it's easy when you're number one. It's
Right.
like, hey, I'm I'm gonna get picked regardless, right? But the
Yeah.
guys that have the question mark, that's kind of where I like, because I feel like they'll appreciate the journey more so than the destination.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, like, out of curiosity, you were alluding to how Atlanta took you in the 7th round. Were there other teams like contacting you? Because I know a lot of the times when you go into the process, you obviously have a lot of people trying to get in contact with you. Oh, we may be interested, may not be interested. Like, did you have any idea you might be going somewhere else, or somewhere else you might have been interested in going yourself? Out of
Yeah,
curiosity.
yeah, for sure. During the combine, I never once talked to Atlanta, other than
Mm.
the time I sat down with the scout my junior, senior year, whenever it was. But like, I didn't do an interview. They didn't call me in to do an interview. I didn't talk to any coaches or any scouts at the combine, even at the Senior Bowl. Um, I did contact the Detroit Lions, San Francisco 49ers. Those were probably the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those were the three teams that I thought would be an option. And then Detroit called after the first day. And I think in 99, when I got drafted, the first 3 rounds were on the first day. So I got a call after
Yeah.
that first day that the Detroit Lions call and saying, look, we talked about it. We're going to draft you with our pick tomorrow in the 4th round. So I'm getting hyped, trying to envision myself playing in a Detroit uniform. And then that pick comes and goes. And it's like, man, here we go. Am I even going to get drafted now? Yeah, so I had no idea it was going to be Atlanta. It just worked out that way. And, I wouldn't change anything in the process it was great for me. 14 years in one city was an unbelievable experience.
And that's not common at all anymore. Like, we go back to like how the
Mm-mm.
times have changed and how players' mentalities change. Back then, it's like guys didn't want to leave anywhere. They knew if they liked the culture, they liked the vibe, or if they felt like they had a chance to win a Super Bowl or really compete. Nowadays, it's just really just money driven, vibe driven, like cloud, social media, all that kind of thing. So it's cool to kind of see that point of view for a guy that just stayed in one spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had the opportunity to go into free agency 2 or 3 times, but I never really got to true free agency. I was there was a few teams that kind of reached out to my agent, towards the end of the season, like, look, keep us in the back of your mind. And I can remember Jacksonville. Me and my wife started looking up houses in Jacksonville because we thought that would be a possibility at one point. But
Was
then
that when Jack Del Rio was there, or
yeah, that would have been, I
after
believe it
Coughlin
was,
and all that?
yeah, for sure. It was Jack Del Rio. That was when Fred Taylor was there, so towards
Yeah.
the end, Tony
Another.
Baselli was there.
That's another good one.
Yeah. But it never got to that point. Atlanta always came in and offered me enough money to where I was like, why even go through the process? We had, me and my wife have 4 kids. We had my son, I think my oldest son, 2nd year in the league, and then my daughter 2 years later. So at that point, I didn't want to move my family across the country to go chase a few more bucks. And
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
looking back now, for me, if I would have done that, it would have changed how people see me. I wouldn't have been in the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor, and to me, that legacy means more than a few bucks. Because my kids, my grandkids can look up and see my name one day. And if I would have chased a few more bucks, it definitely would have been different.
Understandable.
So we did the draft, we've done college. So I have to ask, what was Dan Reeves like as a coach?
He was unbelievable. He was old school. Our
Yeah.
practices were long as hell. We had long practices. They were physical. He was a no nonsense guy. He was a in your face type of coach. He was going to tell you how he thought. He wasn't going to sugarcoat it. Some of the longest training camps. I mean, it was physical, run the ball. But he had a track record, and guys believed in him. I loved every bit of it. When you got off the field, he also loved on you. When you did good, he wrapped his arm around you and told you how good you did. But that allowed him to be tough on you when you weren't doing great.
Mm-hmm.
He had been around, great coaches with Tom Landry. He had been
Mm-hmm.
in Denver. He had been with the New York Giants, and then
Mm-hmm.
he was a guy that I grew up watching. Everybody knew who Dan Reeves was, and for him to draft me and to talk to him on the phone in round 7 that, hey Todd, this is Coach Reeves. We look forward to having you. It was really cool, and he was a guy that passed away not too long ago. But I have a ton of
Yeah.
respect for Coach Reeves and his family.
Yeah, I love me some Dan Reeves. That's when you talk about a football life,
Yeah,
that's a football life, man.
absolutely.
Yeah, so
He's got his son-in-law, Joe D. Camillus, is still coaching. Joe D. was a special teams coach. He's been all around the league. I think he's actually in South Carolina with Coach Beamer's staff now. But that was Coach Dan Reeves' son-in-law, one of my favorite coaches to be around also.
and then I let you do your 2 questions too, Brandon. But I gotta ask, what was the big man like? What was Arthur Blank like? Like
He's
as
awesome.
a player at
You couldn't ask for anything more, and I tell people that all the time. I actually 2 weeks ago got to sit with him up in a suite in New Orleans when they played the Saints. He's an owner that truly cares, and I know this may sound like it's just lip service, but he truly cares about his players.
mm-hmm.
When you do him right, and you give him everything that you have, and he sees it, and he hears from coaches and people around the staff, around the building, the type of person you are. He's going to take care of you, and he remembers everything. He brought up stuff to me 2 weeks ago that I had forgot about. We played. It was Matt Ryan's rookie year. We made it to the playoffs, and I started doing a little mohawk and dyeing it whenever we were making it into the playoffs. And he had a bet with me. He said, Todd, if we make it to the Super Bowl, which we never did, but he said, I'll get a mohawk to match yours. Well, he brought that up 2 weeks ago, and I'd forgot about it. I'd love to see Mr. Blank with a mohawk, but just genuine, truly genuine. I love that man, and I think now he's grooming his son, Josh, who grew up. I mean, when I was playing, he was a ball boy. He was in the equipment room folding jock straps and towels, and being there at training camp. And he sent him to the NFL office for a few years to learn that side of the business. And now, whenever you see Mr. Blank, if it's around any of the teams, Josh is right there shadowing him. And I think he's going to be a great owner one day.
That's good. That's good, man. Like I said, I see a lot of ownership, changes across sports, and I'm just wondering, I'm just like, why not keep it in the family, like
Right.
just pass it down. Like that's what I was thinking, like just keep it in the family, groom them. Now I get it. If the kid's a bonehead, I ain't leaving nothing to you.
Right. And Mr. Blanks, he's made, he made his money elsewhere. It wasn't just with the NFL team at Home Depot, and now his brand is just all over, and he's got a good team around him. But, at the same time, you hear, I talk to players that played in other cities for other ownership, and they really didn't know the guy. Sometimes he'd show up at the games, wasn't ever around a facility, didn't get to know his players. It was just a business, and I think Mr. Blank came in and he wanted it to make it personal. He didn't want just to own a team. He wanted to get to know the players and the stars that he had playing for him. And I think you can go talk to, Matt Ryan, the Roddy White, those guys. They're going to have you tell the same thing now. Now, Julio and Mr. Blank, they left on I guess a little sour note, and I really hope they can get that fixed because Julio Jones needs to be in the Falcons Ring of Honor, and I hope him and Mr. Blank can work through that. It's some feelings were hurt, and he definitely deserves to be there.
I agree. So this is kind of a two-part thing. So obviously going to the league, the pace is a lot different. It's a lot faster. Obviously the tone of athlete is a whole lot different. Like you go through coaches, you go through with playing all kinds of different people. What was it like playing with a fancy toy like Michael Vick, because man, I've got to imagine you're having to move here, move there, do this, do that.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
other half of that would be like, okay, it was cool playing with him, but like, what was it like in the locker room when a lot of the stuff was coming out? Obviously, we don't really talk about that stuff anymore because he's really
Right.
done a really good job with his reputation. I'm really happy for him getting the
Yes.
opportunities he's had. But like at that time, like what was that like coming from, man, we're in the playoffs, we're making runs, and now this comes out,
Yeah, Mike Vick was unbelievable talent. I think you look at the game, the NFL game today, and the way it's played at the quarterback spot, the way it's, players are drafted, the schemes that are put in, a lot of it goes back to Michael Vick, and the way he played the game, kind of that dual threat quarterback. You don't see very many just straight drop back quarterbacks anymore because the guys on the other side are so talented. And, he was unbelievable. And I think if you ask Mike today, he wishes he would have taken the game a little more serious early on because his ability was like none I'd ever seen. The way he could move, his top end speed, his arm strength. But early in his career, he just relied on that. He relied on his ability. Didn't really know the game plan top to bottom, and he'll even tell you that. You listen to him when he got to Philly there towards the end, and Donovan McNabb kind of took him in and really showed him how to get into the playbook and prepare for a team. Just unbelievable. You never knew where he was going to be. The whole Michael Vick experience was, had the NFL on buzz. You see him make those game-winning runs and some of those plays where he's spinning out of tackles and still looking downfield and hitting Algie Crumpler or Roddy White there.
That's a good one. I like
yeah,
Algie.
Yeah, Algie was a dog. But
Yeah.
it was crazy, man. And then we went up to one of the most special moments with Mike was going up to Green Bay.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, that was a game.
That was a game.
Brett Favre was still playing, and
Yeah.
the Packers had never been beat in the playoffs in the history of Lambeau Field. And then we come in there with Michael Vick, Warwick Dunn, T.J. Duckett, Algie Crumpler. I remember Algie had a great game, and we go get it done. We beat the Packers. I got a picture here hanging on my wall, 27-7. We beat the Packers at Lambeau Field. We blocked a punt. I think that really set the tempo of that game. But that was just huge. And then so you're sitting there and you're seeing the success we have, and we're starting to add pieces here and there. And then Coach Reeves gets let go. They bring in.
Yeah, that was so bad. I was so mad at that.
They bring in Jim Mora, and they're trying to change some things. And one of the best guys that could have been brought in that came with Coach Mora's staff for me was Alex Gibbs. One of the best offensive line coaches to ever coach the game. The zone running scheme was there with Denver. So he comes in. We have some great years with Mike, and then Jim kind of falls out of favor. I think Jim, I just saw he took the Colorado State job, but he falls out of favor with the franchise and Mr. Blank, and then they go get this jackrabbit named Bobby Petrino to come in. I can't stand him. I'm gonna go ahead and get that out the way. But they go hire Bobby Petrino.
That's cool. We appreciate the transparency.
Yeah. The culture kind of got loose around there. It was it needed to be tightened up a little bit. So they wanted to go get Bobby. Was a guy that a little no nonsense that thought he could come in and change it, and he thought that he had Michael Vick was going to be his quarterback.
Yeah.
And the one thing I tell people all the time, I can't stand Bobby Petrino as a person, his character, all that stuff. I couldn't stand him in the locker room. He is an offensive mind. He's a guy that is really good calling plays, designing an offense, and he came in thinking that he was going to have Michael Vick, this shiny toy to go out there, and they probably would have lit it up, But Michael Vick gets in trouble. All that comes down. I was shocked. I think everybody was shocked. Nobody in the locker room knew about it. We knew that Mike would go back to Virginia a good bit, whenever we had downtime. We didn't, just thought it was family or whatever. And then all that comes out, and everybody was truly shocked. You know,
Yeah.
I think Mr. Blank has talked about it. He even asked Mike about it, and basically Mike lied to him and told him that that wasn't going on. So Petrino's there. Mike gets in trouble, and then we go through a string of quarterbacks with Petrino, Byron Leftwich, and Joey Harrington, and Chris Redmond. I'm
Yeah, I know
probably
Chris Redmond.
yeah, I'm probably leaving some guys out, but it just falls apart. And then Petrino's like, "This is not what I signed up for." Threw up the deuces, didn't tell a soul. His own brother was on the coaching staff, was a wide receivers coach. He didn't even tell his brother. He just left in the middle of the night,
We
didn't tell a
all
soul.
about
And then we see him calling the pigs at Arkansas. And
Yeah.
I can remember Keenan Forney was a player I played with for a long time. One of my best
Mm.
buddies was a guard that could not stand Bobby Petrino. Like, if he saw him today, he'd probably spit in his face and then knock him out. But he lived down the road from me. So we hear by news that Bobby Petrino is gone, that he left a letter in our locker. We weren't even there. Once somebody got a hold to it, I get a knock on my door, and then all I see is Keenan's big butt singing "Ding Dong, the witch is dead, the witch is dead." So, we were happy to see him go. That was a miserable year, but I hated that we had to go through that with Mike, and he could have been a special, but he still was a special player.
Yeah.
But I think you said he served his time. He changed his life. Really proud, that the NFL gave him another chance in Philly and at Norfolk State now. He has
Yeah.
a story. He has some learning experiences that he can pass on to the younger generation, and I'm happy for Mike Vick and proud to have called him a teammate.
Oh, most definitely, man.
I'm
Like I
sorry I
said,
got long-winded there,
Oh
man.
no, you're good,
nah,
man. We
nah,
love hearing about that.
nah. That's the inside stuff that people really don't get a chance to really feel. Like
Right.
everybody kind of gets the outside stuff, the outside noise. Like, oh my God, he got in trouble. He ain't nothing but
Right.
a troublemaker. But
Yeah.
really, it just happens. Sometimes life. I would think that life came at him really, really fast, right?
Yeah, and
You're,
he
you're,
talks about it. He grew up around it. He grew up, and the dog fighting was going on. So um, he didn't see anything wrong with it. It's how he was raised, and then he got a little money and just wanted to do what he grew up around. And I think
yeah.
sometimes athletes have a hard time separating from their boys, from their friends, and even family, but
Hmm.
at times when you're looked at under a tighter microscope, sometimes those tough decisions, if you can separate from people that don't have the same goals as you anymore, and it's hard. It's easy to say, but it's hard to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
most definitely. So, like I said, Michael Vick, was one of my favorite players, right? Like, it's not a secret. Growing up, like you just like, man, he owns shoes. He had the commercials
Yeah,
on the cover of Madden. Like, yo, he was everywhere.
yeah,
So to kind of see him almost brought down to earth in a sense, it was kind of like, okay, well now everything that was wrong in terms of playing football, you got a chance to think about,
right.
right?
Yeah,
And when he came back with Philly, that was such a good story, right? Redemption, all of that, right? But he turned into a quarterback instead of an
right.
athlete.
Yeah,
And that was the best thing to see. I was like, look at him go through his progressions, man. And then you
yeah. I
got
know.
and then you
I
got
know it.
Deshaun Jackson down
He
there
had
just
some
throwing.
weapons. Yeah, he did.
So I was like, yo, this is cool to watch. So my next question is about retirement, right?
Mhm.
We got a comment in here, but I'm gonna say that to the end. But when did you know it was time to retire?
I retired in 2012. We played, had a great year, played the San Francisco 49ers in an NFC championship game. We got down to the 15-yard line. Uh, we're 15 yards from going to the Super Bowl. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. Got Tony Gonzalez and Roddy White in a route, and I think Roddy slipped a little bit. There was a little pass interference, or what we thought should have been pass interference, didn't get called. San Francisco wins that game and goes on to the Super Bowl. So after that year, I wanted to play one more year. I thought we had a special team around us. My contract was up. Obviously we had Tony Gonzalez we brought in, been playing with us for a year or two. And we just we had Julio Jones, Roddy White, Michael Turner. We had some guys. We had the nucleus.
I like Michael Turner. I like him.
He's one of the guys I was talking to earlier about the game getting soft. But we had a really good group. And I felt like, us making it to the NFC Championship game, that we could possibly get back and maybe get a chance to go to the Super Bowl the next year. So I wanted to play one more year. But Thomas Dimitroff was the GM at the time, another guy that I don't have a whole lot of respect for because the way he handled things, didn't communicate with veterans. It was almost like he was scared to talk to us. But he wanted to go in another direction. And I understand, I was slowing down as a player. But what I brought mentally and as a leader, I had one more year in me. But sometimes those tough decisions have to be made. They wanted to go in a younger direction. I had a couple teams reach out, and I didn't want to play just for anybody. I wanted to play in Atlanta. So, after that, they started the season. I had officially retired, but I get a call after the third or fourth week when things aren't going good, the young center's struggling a little bit, and I get a call from one of the scouts, want to know if I'm still in shape, and that, they were going to bring me in and get me back into the mix. And then I don't hear a drop from nobody. Like, Thomas never called. Nobody called to let me know, look, we're not interested or whatever. I mean, I've spent 14 years there, and just the way they handled that, I stayed retired, and that was it. Probably now, the way I feel is probably good. I didn't play one more year with my joints, but long story short, I retired in 2012. Really wanted to play one more year, and then that year was tough for the Falcons. A lot of things went wrong early for that team.
Okay. Cool.
Just a quick two-parter. Obviously, you grew up in Louisiana, so I assume you grew up liking the Saints. So you go into their arch rival, which is already crazy.
Don't assume too much now.
It's a crazy rivalry. So, like, two questions. One, playing in Atlanta, having to go into that environment, like, the hatred really run that deep for you, being that you were from the state, and also everybody in Louisiana, especially New Orleans, remembers that obviously that block punt from Gleason set the tone, really kind of turned things around for them. Like, so did the hatred really run that deep? And like, what was it like being in that environment when he blocked that punt, if you don't mind me asking?
No, absolutely. So I grew up, we talked about earlier, the Saints were on when, they'd be on TV, we'd watch, but we were never really, nobody in my family really were Saints fans. We were LSU fans, followed the college game. But if they were on, we watched, but never really, truly pulled for the Saints. So when I got drafted to Atlanta, I learned that hatred was real. It's, all in water. It's, you can't have one without the other. And then I get a chance to play in those games, and you see how the fans react, and you see how each team reacts to each other. And you learn pretty quick that, ties and family and all that stuff means nothing in this rivalry. It's either one way or another. And you learn to build up some hate towards a franchise. And I say hate, it's, if I saw those guys, I'd shake their hand or whatever that I competed against. But two teams and franchises that don't like each other. So today, I live here in Baton Rouge, right outside of Baton Rouge, and I'm all around it. Everybody around me, Saints fans. I think I know two, besides family, my close family, I know two other people that are Falcons fans, and it's just not good, But I love it. To me, all I have left is to be able to talk football and talk a little bit of trash when my team's doing good. Right now, the Falcons or the Saints aren't doing good, so the trash talking is basically just stopped. Luckily for Lane Kiffin, we got something to talk about. But
yeah.
And you talk about that game coming back after Katrina. other than Death Valley, being in a swamp, that game may have been the loudest I had ever heard a football stadium after that block punt by Gleason. You couldn't think in there. It was hard. I mean, it was hard to operate. And I think, that city, they were ready for their team to get back in and play some football. And I can remember Jim Mora telling us in the locker room, or Jim Mora Jr. after the game, he was like, guys, he said, I didn't want to tell y'all before the game, but he grew up. Jim Mora Jr. grew up in New Orleans. His daddy obviously was a coach for the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I didn't want to tell y'all before, but the whole world was rooting against us. We had no shot in this game. Let's get ready for next week. But when Gleason blocked that punt, I'm telling you, I thought the roof was going to come off of that place. I mean, it was just an unbelievable environment. And where they went from there with Drew Brees coming in and the run they went on to win that Super Bowl, that's, I hear that all the time from these Saints fans because they have a ring. The Falcons don't. And then the only Super Bowl we get to, we lose after having a 28-3 lead, and that comes up every time a trash talking session comes up.
Well, yeah, Brandon talks about that a lot. He talks about that a lot.
When they have nothing else to say, 28-3 comes up, so.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? Because I had family and friends watching the game. It's like, yeah, Dirty Bird. I'm dancing Dirty Bird all day. We about to do it. I was like, man, I don't think Tom
Brady's like, hold my beer, watch this.
And I was at that game. Me and my wife went. Dude. And dude, we sat behind two Patriots fans, and they were ready. I think they were ready to leave. And then we were talking so much trash at that point. I'm just being honest. And then he gets a touchdown, and then another one, and then Welker makes that catch. I'm like, uh-oh, we got to find a way out of here. Just unbelievable. It's Tom Brady. What an unbelievable career he had.
Yeah. So I just want to do this question real quick. So one of our good friends and one of our good fans, he says we already talked about retiring, Terry. So we'll say, are you still involved with football, and at what capacity?
When I first got done, I still wanted to stay around the game. My oldest son was just getting to he was playing Little League ball. So I went and helped coach a Little League football team. And then that group, my son's group, I kind of followed them all the way to high school, coached them in junior high. I didn't coach my son. He was a linebacker. I coached the offensive line. But I followed that group from Little League to middle school to high school. And then I stopped coaching as ninth grade. I wanted to be a dad at that point, and just watch my son play. But it was a special group. They went on to win 2 state championships, had some really good players around them. And then my youngest son came through, and I kind of did the same thing with him. I coached all the way up until his 9th grade year, and then kind of got away from it. I was doing the LSU postgame show with Charles Hannegriff. If you know LSU football, Charlie has been around a long time and does the post-game show. So I'd go on with him, but I did that for 2 years, and that turned in some late nights, because we went on, I think 3 hours, or might have even been 4 hours after after the game was over. So 7 o'clock games would be really late. So I had to let that go, and at this point, I started my podcast and just kind of giving me an opportunity to stay around it, to talk about football a little bit. And that's where I am now. I'd love to, and I talk about it, I'd love to get into coaching. My dad was a college basketball coach. He was on the road a good bit recruiting. He was always there for us, though. So I always said I didn't want to be away from my family. Well, my youngest one's a senior in high school now. So I'm kicking around the possibility of maybe getting into coaching. I know those guys spend a lot of time at the college level, the pro level. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that's something that could be a possibility.
Okay, no. Coaching is the former players is becoming a hot commodity, man. Right. And I love it. I love it because as long as like it's not a popularity contest, right? Like
right.
I'm trying to phrase it right. So the former players have an experience above coaches that haven't played before, right?
Right.
So I look at Eli Drinkwitz, right, at Mizzou. I don't think he played college football, but he worked his way up through the ranks, right?
Right.
So that's that's really good, right? But I just hope like the coaches that are former players don't just throw that around.
No,
Don't
I'm with
throw
you. I
yeah,
understand where you're coming at. You look
yeah,
at now like with Prime, everybody wants to be kind of doing what Coach Prime is doing, and then
mm,
um, Mike goes to Norfolk, and now we're talking about Marshall Falk at Southern. Um, ex players have they can relate to current players a little bit better, but not every ex player is a great football coach.
yeah,
Some
yeah, yeah.
guys. And I'm not talking bad about him. When I first came to the NFL, Art Shell was my offensive line coach.
Yeah, he's a
And
good one. He's a good
yeah,
one.
he was a great player, of course, a Hall of Famer, and things came easy to him. So as a young player, I didn't learn a lot from Art because he just assumed that everybody should be able to do what he did,
Hmm.
and I didn't learn enough about the game from Art. Was a great guy, great man, just didn't great player, didn't teach the game as well as I thought he should have for a younger player. And then I get a guy that comes in like Alex Gibbs that I don't know if he's ever held a football before, but he's one of the best football coaches that I'd ever been around. He's a little bitty guy. He coached with Woody Hayes at Ohio State. He learned the game from the defensive side. He was a defensive back coach for Woody Hayes at Ohio State. He learned the game from that side. That's how he taught the game. He taught the game to offensive linemen how a defense was to be played, where safeties were. And once you can learn that, it makes you understand the game. So saying all that is, not every ex-player is a great coach, but you don't have to have that experience on the field to be a great coach. I've seen it both ways.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So, like I said, I like the former players getting more opportunities because sometimes they don't. A
Right,
lot of people shy away from it. I see it in other sports, right? Jason Kidd gets right out of playing, goes into being a head coach.
right,
So I see that part of it, but I do like that. Guys like Marshall Falk is getting that Southern job. Michael Vick at Norfolk, Deshaun Jackson getting his job as
right.
well. So I like that part, because they do have. I think all the former players do have a perspective that could work, you know.
Absolutely.
So, but like I said, it's all about growing from that point, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Out of curiosity, I mean, I think everybody wants to hear perspective on this. Obviously, Lane Kiffin finally, the saga finally ends. The drama seems like
Right.
it's going to be rolling on for some time now. But how do you feel about it? Like from a player's perspective, how do you feel about Lane? What do you think he probably brings to the table? And do you think getting a guy like that really gets them back into that conversation, gets the brand back where it needs to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'll start right there with your last one. I think at this point, Lane Kiffin was the only right hire for this program. After you fire Brian Kelly, one of the winningest coaches in college football history, you better have a backup plan. You're not just going to be able to go hire anybody to come run this program because you just walked away from a big contract and a guy that has won a lot of football games. He just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the right fit for this university. Um, so 6-7 years ago, I could not stand Lane Kiffin. I just the baggage that he came with, I thought he was a little weasel. You watched him on the sideline and you're like, man, look at this. Of course, he was coaching for Alabama, so I couldn't stand him because they were having success. Um, but I just didn't care for him too much. And I think if I dig hard enough, I could probably find uh, a Facebook post or something of me dogging him pretty bad. I couldn't stand him. And then I think you watch, his process. He was one of those guys that learned some tough lessons, and I think he got to the point where he learned from them. I think the biggest thing you hear him talk about it, he got to see Nick Saban, the greatest coach to ever do it. He got to see his process, and and how he handled things. And I think Nick was a guy that he called to lean on pretty heavy to make this decision. So when we fired Brian Kelly, I got on and on my podcast and was like, you either call Nick Saban and see if he really enjoys being retired, which, I didn't think that would really be an option. I think Coach Saban's doing a great job on game day. But then I said the next person you got to call is Lane Kiffin. I don't know if I truly thought that it would be possible, especially with the season that Ole Miss was having, but it's how I felt. I felt if you fire Kelly, that's the only guy you can go get. And then you start hearing rumors like, yeah, it's not going to happen. And then Florida gets involved. And, for a point there, we thought he'd be at Florida. And then he's not leaving Ole Miss. And then the way everything is kind of unfolded over the last 48 hours has been unbelievable. I spent all day yesterday updating my social media to see if anything had happened. And all the way up, to nighttime. And you finally see reports that they had the meeting was over. But to actually see Lane Kiffin get off the airplane and take a picture with our AD Verge Osbury, 10 minutes right here from my house, we got our guy. This is the guy that I think he's an offensive guru. One of his biggest things was, I don't know what the final number was, but he wanted $30 million to be able to go spend on the roster. I think my wife might be able to go coach a team with a $30 million roster. So, I mean, that's big. You got to be a good football coach. I think the one thing we saw from Lane Kiffin is the way his players at Ole Miss played for him over the past couple of years. It seemed like they had a true bond. The college football system is flawed. It really bothers me, and I had fans thinking I was making fun. It bothers me that Lane Kiffin had to leave that team. Of course, I'm happy to have him at LSU, but to have to leave that team in the middle of this run, those guys have gone through training camp. They've gone through hard times, the struggles of the year. To get to this point, to give Lane Kiffin the opportunity for somebody else to hire him, and now he's got to leave that program, I don't think that's right. I think and Coach Saban has talked about it. The whole timeline of college football needs to be bumped back to where this doesn't happen anymore. And you're not hearing a rat race for every team trying to hire a new coach. And then you have a great football team in Ole Miss who is going to be without their head coach trying to go make a national championship run. I don't see anything fair about that, And, of course, Lane Kiffin's made out to be a villain, but, it's about money, And then I don't know the true story, but it's looking like and sounding like Ole Miss was like, if you're going somewhere else next year, we don't want you here to finish coaching this season. And I hate that it comes to that.
Yeah, like I think about like this scenario brings me back to God, what's his name at Nebraska? But he was at UCF for a while.
Scott Frost.
Scott Frost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it reminds me of that, and I was like, well, he got to coach them all the way through the bowl game, building a new staff and everything. So I was like, and their team, wasn't at the precipice of a national title either. Like Ole Miss is literally really good.
And they have a legit shot at going to win the whole thing. I truly believe that.
Yeah, and it kind of messed me up. I was like, y'all really that upset that he leaving?
Right.
Like Ole Miss, in my opinion, is a place that could be really good, but throughout my lifetime, this is the ceiling. Hugh Freeze got them to the ceiling, and now Lane Kiffin got them to that ceiling, right? Like never the bride, always the bridesmaid, right? And it's usually because they can't get the guy, the dudes that they need,
They're stuck in between Alabama and LSU in recruiting, that same area.
Yeah.
It's a little different now with NIL and transfer portal, but still, you got to be able to recruit high school players to save some of that money for, to go get the elite guys that are proven. And I agree with you. They kind of got to that point to where, and they had their guy. They had the guy that they thought would take them, get them over the hump, and then I thought they really did.
Yeah, and like I said, I enjoyed Lane's journey, right? He's done everything, at this point, right? He's been an NFL head coach, right? His dad is a all-time an NFL head coach, right? Or a defensive coordinator, should I say? Right? He's seen it all and done it all. He's had his own personal struggles. Like I love the fact that him and Sark have all definitely changed their life. They better themselves to
Right.
get to a better place right now. So I think LSU, this was the only hire to make, and I think this was the only job Lane Kiffin wanted, in my
Right.
opinion, because you had worked your way FAU, you had worked your way up Ole Miss, right? Offensive coordinator Alabama, right? You had done everything to work yourself up to be a valuable candidate, right?
Yeah.
This is the time. The time
Yeah.
is now, right? Now, like I like say I'm an Alabama fan, so I don't really want to see.
I'm sorry to hear that, by the way.
Like I don't
That's how
I
it was
don't want.
that's how it was when we had Matt Moscona on too. That's what he said.
So I don't necessarily want him to be that good, but personally, I love the fit. Right, he's
No,
been
I
in the
agree.
SEC
Yeah.
multiple times, right? As a head coach, offensive coordinator, like he's done it all. So if anybody can use the talent that LSU or the state of Louisiana can produce, he can do it.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's so many. There's so many. Like that. That is like I think Louisiana has to jump into that top three, right? Everybody
Yeah.
talks about Florida, Texas, California, but I really think Georgia and Louisiana have to be in that category. So, like, because it's too many. It's too rich of talent, right?
Right.
So, like,
Yeah.
if he can do it, he can do it.
I
So,
agree with you. And then, we started getting nervous because then you started hearing about if the board lost to Auburn last night, he might wind up being the Penn State next head coach, So I'm sitting there pulling for Alabama. I never pull it for Alabama, but I pulled for him last night because I didn't want the chance to think that Alabama job may open and Lane possibly want to go there, So college football, that's what you love about it, man. The drama that's around it, the next season, and I'm ate up with it, man. I love it.
most definitely. You got anything else, Brandon? I'm good.
I mean, if you had any last questions, I don't want to hold you up too long, Todd. I'm pretty sure you got a lot going on.
No, man. I could go forever with you guys. I truly enjoy this. I just look forward to seeing, for me personally, as LSU, where this program goes. I think it'll be interesting to see who Lane Kiffin brings from that staff at Ole Miss, who wants to come with him. And then, like any good college football team, you're only as good as your quarterback, your starting quarterback. I don't think our starting quarterback for next year is on our roster. I like Leavitt, that was at Arizona State. If he'll come to, or Levitt, however you say his name, I'm hearing he may be entering the portal. I wish Trinidad Chambliss had another year. We might try to take him too.
They were talking about Kawan Lacey too, the running back. They were talking about
is legit.
floating around. So,
yeah.
but we already have a really deep running back room, so it's kind of like you don't really want to mess up that
Right.
chemistry you got.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, if Lacey wanted to come, they'd find a
Oh,
way
yeah,
to fit him in that room because that guy's just different. He reminds me of what's his name in Detroit? Now I'm
Gibbs.
Gibbs.
That same style, just got a sixth gear that when they get out there they could go. But so that'll be interesting. Who does he bring in? Who's the quarterback going to be? Does he leave? I really like Blake Baker.
Man, you got to keep him. You got
Yeah.
to, man.
I think you have to, unless he gets. I'm hearing he may get the possible the Tulane job. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. We got the big fish now. We got to go put the pieces in place.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think any quarterback that you guys get, Lane Kiffin's gonna work with it.
Right.
I think about his time at Alabama, and he had Blake Sims,
Right.
a former running back, defensive back, and he turned him into a playoff quarterback.
That's crazy.
So like just the thought of his genius, like he could take anybody. So if he doesn't, if like I really like Van Buren, I like what I saw from him, and I think if Lane Kiffin got his hands on him, that would be crazy because
I can agree with that. I think he'll be a different player once because our scheme and our system has not been good here at LSU. You know, as far as running the ball and developing quarterbacks,
Yeah.
it hadn't been good. It may be interesting to see what Lane Kiffin can do with Van Buren with a better scheme, because you know he's going to put him in the right spot.
Yeah.
And we got to get better up front. Our offensive line has been a weak point, but a lot of that I think has been mentality in the scheme we're running, because those guys are athletes. You go back and look at some of their high school recruiting tape. Good God, some of those guys were unreal. You know, and there's no way if I looked
Yeah.
at some of their tape and you told me they played the way they did, they're not getting coached right. You know, the scheme's not right. So I think there's some talent in that room, but they do have to go find some pieces up front.
I think Lane brings a presence that you wasn't gonna get with Brian Kelly.
Yeah, for
Initially, I just
sure.
felt like something was off, like
Yeah.
just from jump, and then the whole the family. I'm like, okay, this is either gonna be really good or really bad.
Yeah.
But like, I think he'd really get down with the culture. I think he'd really get down with the brand, and I think he can kind of bring LSU up to speed with obviously how he does business. But I think it makes it a lot easier on him because, like you said earlier, he doesn't have to spend that money as
Right.
much. It's in your backyard. You could literally recruit out of the state of Louisiana and not do anything else, and you'd be okay.
Absolutely. Just keep the
I
guys
just think it's
here.
a really good culture fit.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It definitely won't be dull for LSU football around here for the next few years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and this might be the first time that, well, not the first time, but first time in a while that I've actually gotten into recruiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody moves this way, everywhere, right? But for a while, I used to follow recruiting like religiously,
Well, that was
just
your
to
team for the next 4 years,
like
those
I used to,
guys.
yeah, I used to follow it. So now with Lane Kiffin, a lot of changes with other programs like Auburn, Arkansas, right? Like I really want to see how these coaches attack the SEC, because
Right.
a lot of the new guys that come in there, I see a lot of problems collectively, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all struggle with recruiting. They can't get what they need, right? Whether it be upfront or skill players, right? And for Chad Morris, it was actually both. But but nonetheless, but I want to see how they attack it, because it's a different ball game, man. The SEC recruiting feels like it's like a sport in and of itself. Like
You're right about that. Yeah, no doubt. Oh. Well,
yeah,
man, look, I enjoyed this. Let's not make this the last time. Let's do it
Oh,
again, man. I'd love to collab with you guys again. Maybe once we get to the playoffs or something, or start talking about NFL draft, whatever. Y'all hit me up, man. I'd
oh,
love to do
dude,
it.
that's been our number one thing since day one, and it's
yeah,
so hard to get content creators in general are hard to get in trouble like contact with, but like doing stuff like this has been something we wanted to do like since day one, and
Right?
getting
yeah,
Matt Moscona was a big deal. I thought that was a really cool thing,
He's
but
an
we always
awesome
wanted to
dude,
talk to
man.
former players.
Yeah,
And as soon as I seen you, I'm like, dude, this would be great.
yeah.
We like to see like, I guess the things that people don't see, the intricacies and the things that people never hear about. One, because they don't know what to ask, but two, is just a lot of people just don't ever make it to that level. You know what I mean? Like we played at
Right.
the high
Yeah.
school level. I had injuries. I didn't go play any further than that. So it's like a lot of things like that. We just get really curious and want to hear like an actual player's perspective.
I love it,
yeah,
man. Yeah,
yeah,
let's definitely
and
do it. Even though we got an Alabama fan, we'll still get on here and chat it up a little bit.
hey
You got to make
man,
it work. Oh Lord.
yeah, but I mean, but like I said, man, we enjoy it, man. We enjoy
Yeah.
collabing. We love like draft season. We love playoff season. We love all of that, man. So we talk football literally 365, 366 on a leap year.
Yeah.
So we do it, man. So before we let you go, we gotta ask, where can people find you?
Yeah, y'all go check us out. We're kind of like you guys. You guys have built really quick. We're trying to build our brand a little bit. On Facebook I'm sorry, at the Snapback with T Mac. On all platforms. We're on Instagram. We're really trying to get our YouTube subscribers up. So if any of y'all's fans would like to go like or subscribe to our YouTube channel, that'd be appreciative. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitter. We're under my name at Todd McClure 62. But just trying to talk football and, like you guys talked about, give people a little insight from a former player's perspective. So go hit like and share. Tell your friends about us. We really appreciate it.
Definitely.
definitely,
And if
man.
you have any questions about YouTube or anything, feel free to ask at any point. Like it's been a lot of trial and error. It was just kind
Right.
of something
Yeah.
we've been wanted to do. And like one day I was like, hey, like what you doing? He was like, oh, I'm thinking about I'm already doing this. I'm like, man, I kind of wanted to do this. And we just, it started really primitive. It started with like Zoom calls. The quality is not good, but the content is king.
Right.
And we've gone through the motions. We've been a part of other networks. We've worked with a bunch of people. We're kind of finally in a place where trying to grow and just continue to grow our brand and being able to do things like this. This is the stuff we live for. It's the kind of stuff we really enjoy wanting to do.
Right. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Like I said, y'all don't hesitate. You're not bothering me. I enjoy doing this also. So if y'all see something coming up, hit me up, man. If I can fit it in my schedule, I'd love to. I'd definitely love to.
Most definitely, most definitely. Well, that's all we got, man. That's all we got, man. So, like I said, this is Todd McClure, man, legend, Falcons Ring of Honor, right? He's done it all, seen it all, put people on their backs for a very long time. So we
Hey,
hope y'all.
now I got a ticket to the lane train, baby. I'm
Yes,
aboard. I got my
sir.
ticket. Let's
Yes,
go.
sir. Yes, sir.
That's it.
Thank
So
you
we,
guys, man.
Oh, thank
of
you,
course,
man. It's
of
been a
course,
real
of course,
pleasure.
of
All
course.
right, fellas. Yeah, y'all hit me up. Like I said, hit me up anytime, man, and we'll do it again.
Oh, don't tell me with a good time, brother. Don't tell
All
me.
right, man. Thank y'all, fellas.
You
All
too,
right.
man. Thank you so much.
All right.
Let me see. No comments. Okay. I think we're good, Cam.
All right.
Man,
Right.
so I gotta hear your side. This is the second time we've done one of these, and it's the second time it just happens to be, on my side of the fence. No pun intended. But like, what do you think? Like, what are your takeaways? Todd's a really cool guy, and we
Oh, I
really
think
enjoy
he's
that.
still in
Oh,
there. He's still.
Hey, can I ask y'all one thing?
yeah,
Yeah. Go
ahead.
ahead.
Do we need to? Do I need to keep the computer on, or are we okay Xing out? I know sometimes
Oh,
we
no,
get asked to leave it up while it downloads or anything.
no,
Oh no. You're
you're
all right.
good.
You're all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank y'all, man.
All
Not a
right. No
problem. Have a
problem. No
great night,
problem.
man.
All
You
right,
too.
y'all too.
All right.
All right. Cool.
All right. So, but what are your takeaways, man? I know it's kind of funny it's being two straight LSU guys, but I just thought it was really cool to get a former NFL guy in there.
I mean, look, I understand. Look, LSU is an awesome program. So my fandom doesn't necessarily like. I don't hate LSU like that. All right. Now, if you had a Tennessee guy on here, it probably wouldn't be as friendly, right? But I like the insight, man. I like the insight from Matt Moscona, right? Because he's in this space and on the radio, so he's heard by thousands, millions, probably depending on what platform you listen to. So that's where we trying to get to, right? Now, look, we won't necessarily be NFL players, but like I said, say, hey man, look, hey
No, dude, my playing days
AI
are
is
long.
crazy. If they start creating AI,
Let me get like an AI generated image, like, oh, I played for ULM. I'll make a Photoshop roster pick. Yeah, it'd be all right. Like, you will never know.
look, they got AI music right now, and that's taking the world by storm, right? So imagine if they had an AI generated body that you could just get into. Think about that.
That's kind of
Like,
scary, bro.
not for me. Sign me up. I'd be
What,
like, hey, I'd be like Lieutenant Dan, new legs.
no legs. What you thought about Todd though? He seems like a really cool guy. Like, just really, because like when I reach out to these kind of people, I always think, okay, either one, I'm not gonna get a response. Two, I'll get read with no response, or three, I'll use as my wife.
Nah, we weren't talking. Like, well, the trash would be pointed at me.
Yeah, he get ganged on, but
yeah,
it's intimidating sometimes to reach out to these guys because I don't want to bug them. I don't want to come off like condescending or just harassing them. So it is intimidating, but to like meet someone like that who just like me and you, and for him to be like, oh man, like, I'd love to keep doing this. That's, hey, like I said, don't send me with a good time, but that's a really good thing.
Yeah, so like that's one of the things like that I like, like when you talk to people that are down to earth, like that's the big part that I like, like just having a conversation about sports. Not no yelling, not no fussing, none of that. Just talking about sports like we would do at the barbershop, like we would do at school, like we would do with our friends, period. That's the kind of stuff I like, man. Like I said, that's why I don't really like a lot of other podcasts right now because
Hmm.
it's a lot of yelling and screaming
And too
and stuff.
scripted. Like I like off script. Like how me and you have always just been like just off the dome. Like obviously we do our research, but it's just me and you just talking. That's I agree with you.
Yeah, like literally, this we still live right now, so we could literally be doing this for hours. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
dude, we had the I don't y'all don't see any of this, but like for a while, that's how it was. If it wasn't on screen, it was literally bam, 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 bam. Oh, this is a cool idea. Hey, you remember this? You remember this? Remember this? Remember this? Like just back and forth,
Yeah,
back and forth. We've had to dial it back a little bit, but that's literally like how he said I could talk about it all day. That's literally us in a nutshell.
yeah. So, but like I said, man, if y'all like this kind of stuff, man, like I said, we're gonna keep on doing it. We're gonna keep on doing it. We got our arms all over the place, right? We got the media network that we growing. We got the baseball channel, which is a part of that, right? Always got the football channel, right? That's what we're doing. So we got our hands in music as well. So
Check it
if
out.
y'all like all kind of music, man, just fuck with us, man. You can use our stuff, man. I'm not like one of them crazy dudes that be all up like, oh man, no, you gotta pay. I'm like, no, we'll work something out, right? But nonetheless, man,
But
we
you got
hope
one
you.
dropping tomorrow too.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, midnight. The commissioner, man. Y'all check it out. I ain't got no video, but it's at the beginning of the video. You'll see it.
It's gonna be
Um,
fire.
yeah, the commissioner's gonna be cold, man. I had listened to it earlier, and I was like, man, I got like 17 bangers on here, bro. Like, like, um, Terry's like,
How do I get a hold? So for me, like it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, like just stepping out. Like there's one thing that I'm not a huge fan of Facebook, but there's one thing I really love about Facebook, especially when you go like professional dashboard and all that. They start feeding you different people. So if you've watched this show for a year or even longer, especially in the last year or so, we've had a bunch of people on like collabing, and damn near every single one of those people were suggestions from Facebook. So Chanel last week was like that. Sports Nonsense and Whiskey, Houdini Network, Grid, like Pitch Grid, like so many people. So he popped up on my feed. I'm like, man, like, the name sounds familiar. Initially, I'm like, okay, cool. LSU podcast, dope. And I research, I'm like, oh, dude, I remember you. You played in the freaking league. I'm like, a former player has been something we've talked about forever since jump. We're like, man, we got it because Moscona was cool, really cool. But like, I want to talk about stuff that nobody knows about, like how you were asking about the draft and playing with this guy and that guy. So he popped up on my feed. I sent him I used to have a prompt that I'll kind of tweak based on who I'm talking to.
yeah,
Dude, within maybe not even 5 minutes, he had already read it and responded. So really quick, and he's really cordial. I was just like, hey man, like if you really like, he was like, before I even got to ask anything, I was just like, yeah, man, let's do it. I'm like, that's awesome. So, and I felt like the whole time I was scared. I was like, I don't want to freaking push too much. And he's gonna be like, oh man, y'all, you kind of asking me too many questions. But I just had to, I want to make sure that everything, I strive to make sure it's as convenient and smooth for that person as possible because it's a privilege even having them on here. I come at it like I'm trying to be, you're the special guest. Don't pay any attention to me. I want you to be comfortable. And he was really easy to work with, really easy to talk to. And if you're watching or have been watching, you can see it. He's a really down to earth guy. Look, just like us, just wants to talk football all day, every day. Look, at some point in the future, if we're getting paid to just talk ball, just like Matt Moscona said. He said, I didn't think I was going to do it, but as long as they're going to pay me to do it, I'm going to keep doing it. So that's pretty much how I stand.
yeah, man, and that's pretty much what we do. We talk football, man. That's what we do. So, like I said, y'all just keep on liking, keep on subscribing, man. We appreciate all of that. Next week will be the same. Back to the original format, man. We back talking playoff SEC title and Big Ten title championship weekend is upon us. So we are going to be back to that. Like I said, if we have any special guests, man, we'll put it on the post, right? So you guys can tune in, right? We got a lot of stuff going on, man. So y'all just stay with us and we're gonna be good, man. So like I said, this is a football frame of mind, and you was watching go ahead.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but before you guys go anywhere, I'm gonna throw it on the screen just for a second again. Please check him out, man. Really cool guy, really cool content on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If you're an audio listener, it's at the Snapback with T-Mac. And if you're on X, it's under his regular name, so it's gonna be Todd McClure 62 on X as well. Go show him some love, man. We're gonna try to help grow his YouTube channel and everything else, man. Really cool guy, really cool content. Sorry for doing that, by the way.
No. Yeah, Terry's on it. Terry's like unofficial recruiter.
I already followed him. Oh, dude, you can be already.
He was like, "Hey, who is this dude Terry? Man, he keep liking all my stuff." I was like, "Hey, he was paying attention to."
I almost spit my drink out when you said that.
I'm like, "Hey,
Creeper.
Terry he stayed to the end of the show. That's why
That's my guy. Even though you're a UCLA fan, it could be worse.
Okay. Yeah, you could be a
Vandy fan.
You could be a Purdue fan.
Oof.
Oh, disgusting.
Or Auburn.
Nah, they in a good spot. They need to. Well, we get into that. We'll get to that later. But like I said, we hope you enjoy interview time, and we'll catch y'all next Sunday, same place, same time, man. Peace.
Peace.